For more on the China-Russian energy talks, I'm joined by Su Xiaohui. She's an expert from the China Institute of International Studies, and Kent Morris, chairman of the Global Energy Symposium. Thank you very much, both of you, for joining. Ms. Su, let me start with you. How important is this agreement, and how big is it for China?
Well, I have to say that in all these years, since we have witnessed a lot of difficulties and problems between the two sides, but the two sides are still talking about the potential agreement on gas cooperation. This means that the willingness is from both sides. From China's perspective, well, China has been trying hard to get energy diversification. Well, as you may know, that gas consumption only accounts for a small part in China. We will try to enlarge this part since gas is kind of clean energy and efficient energy. And as for Russia, it is clear that Russia has very good energy cooperation with European countries, and Russia benefit a lot from this part. But from this country, it also want to diversify its exports. So China is one of the alternatives, and maybe Asia is another alternative. So Russia is trying to get diversification and to develop its Eastern Siberia and Far East region with the energy exploration.
Kent, we've talked a lot about the growing market for nat gas, and this seems like business as usual, but obviously it's on the backdrop of some political developments around the world. How do you see this deal?
Well, I think we may be looking at an historic change or pivoting, as a number of the commentators have been want to say over the last couple of days. Russia, because of the increasing Cold War attitude that is descending again in Europe, is once again looking east to maximize its natural gas exports, but it's got a couple of problems. It really doesn't have very much leverage, and China is really in the driver's seat with regard to this negotiation. The first, of course, is price. The second, as we've already mentioned, is in which direction this throughput will take place. But the third thing that nobody's commenting on yet is if Gazprom gives any concessions to Beijing whatsoever, all of its current outstanding long-term contracts in Europe automatically, immediately come up for renegotiation. So they have very little leverage here.
That's an interesting point. Xiaohui, I want to ask you, first of all, do you agree that China has the leverage in this discussion?
Well, I don't think so. Well, as from our perspective, we believe that there's a lot of factors that influencing the current negotiation between China and Russia. Pricing is also obviously one factor, but the other factors, especially the factors from the Russian side, also influence the potential of the agreement. The first is the infrastructure construction. We know that the infrastructure construction for energy exports to European from Russia is kind of mature, but for the infrastructure to China, to Asia, is still under discussion and construction. And another thing is that as Russia wants to export gas to China, how to find the routine, how to decide the routine is another problem needs discussing. And another thing is that we have witnessed a lot of changes from the Russian side on the agreement. So it is very hard to find a way out. So a lot of things is still uncertain. I don't believe China is in the driving seat, and I believe that neither side can maximize their benefits.
All right, well, you guys have a slight disagreement between the two of you. Ken, I want to ask you, I mean, is this a chance for President Putin to send a message to the West saying, look, you guys put these sanctions on us, Russia that is, because of the Ukrainian crisis. I'm going to look east. I'm going to score a very big deal. I don't need you.
Well, this has actually been ongoing for several years, Phil. With the Energy Charter Treaty in Europe, that has always been a stumbling block for Russia to acquire assets, to acquire throughput ability, to require increased exports to Western Europe. And there has always been, whenever the troubles existed with Brussels, Moscow would argue, well, we can always go east. In point of fact now, Russia has no choice. If Gazprom is not able to increase its overall exports over the next several years, Gazprom is in difficulties, and so is the central Russian budget. That's what I meant when I said that China's sort of in the driving seat. a driver's seat, they can actually demand a better price than the market would normally allow, given the political strictures that the Kremlin currently experiences.
Xiaohui, I want to ask you, there's not a deal yet. We're expecting a deal. They're going to be talking. Are they close enough that we could reasonably expect a deal in the next 24 to 48 hours?
Well, I have to say that many Chinese experts are very optimistic about reaching an agreement between the two sides. But what I'm worried about is that even though we reach an agreement, can we carry it out? That is the problem. If you look at the history, we have reached several agreements with the Russian side concerning energy cooperation. But in the process of getting them to be realistic, we met a lot of difficulties. So that is what I'm worried about.
We're out of time. Su Xiaohui from Beijing live for us. Thank you, Kent Moores as well. Thank you, both of you, for your thoughts on this very important topic.